Hello and welcome to the Gerry Leeds United show. We're back after an international break, which from a personal perspective couldn't really have been much worse. But we're back. Leeds United back this weekend. Tough run of fixtures coming up, but we have Sheffield United this weekend, which I would like to think we could be looking at that favourably. So I've got JK with me tonight. So firstly, did you catch much of the international games over the break?
I didn't, Jerry. I'm not the biggest international fan, and I'll watch Silver Glory Hunter. I'll watch finals, and possibly that sort of. But there's the odd game I would be intrigued by. I'll maybe watch it. But overall, I watched bits and pieces, shall we say? But nothing. Like I haven't seen this McGinn wonder goal. I keep hearing about. I haven't even watched it yet. It was It was not from last night, but the one against was it? He was against Austria, was it? Haven't seen it yet. They were talking about overhead kick, and it was they were talking about it was a wonder goal. I haven't seen it. I haven't looked at any highlights. I watched a bit of the England game last night. Watched a bit of the Republic game against Qatar, and definitely educated after your article. Now, because genuinely, and even I listened to a few podcasts yesterday, and still very disparaging about Qatar. They were saying, oh, it's Stephen Kenny and blah blah. It was more about how badly Ireland were doing rather than maybe how well Qatar are doing. I did look at the results and all the rest of it. You're right, quite right. Now I stand corrected. But I'm basing it on, as I say, I listen to an awful lot of podcasts, and it all seem to be the same thing. They're saying the same thing. And I've seen, I say, bits and pieces. I saw Gareth Bale's elbow on the guy that's accused of racism with Glenn Kamara. Surprised at the end of the day, yeah, retribution, but I was surprised. Has there been, I don't know, again, has there been any retrospective sort of, I don't know, have you picked up on anything that potentially, at the end of the day, no matter how strongly you feel about something, that's a red card offence potentially, and it's premeditated. I saw on social media people saying, "Oh, well done him," but you're thinking it's for authorities to sort out those sort of things, not on the pitch. You don't do that. If that had been the same game, the Rangers game against Slavia Prague, and he'd done it, he'd have been sent off. So I don't know. It seems a strange one to me. But what about yourself? What did you catch?
Holy God, that's some noise there. Wonder something. No, I seem to. What is that? Is that? Can you hear that noise in the background?
I could hear something there, but it's your signal's going the odd time now, so I'm missing bits of what you're saying.
I don't know what's going on here, but no, I watched the two Ireland matches against Serbia and Luxembourg, and obviously then as we were talking about the Qatar one, where to me, the Qatar, obviously, you would have liked to won the game, but I think a lot of people were making out things were pretty bad going into that game, even any result against Qatar was was going to be an upgrade on losing to bloody Luxembourg at home, but the thing about Qatar is, as we discussed, they were the Asian champions. They were in the Copa America, and although they didn't win any games, but they didn't disgrace themselves either. They were close games against I think it was Colombia, Paraguay, and Argentina. I think they drew with Paraguay, lost to an 86th minute goal against Colombia, and then 2-0 against Argentina, where I think Aguero scored pretty late again. But
no disgrace.
No, I think they I suppose it's a wee bit you sort of look and see Canada as well is kind of starting to up the ante a wee bit. I think whenever teams know they're going to have a home tournament, there's a bit more investment put into getting players and stuff. And certainly Qatar done well to win, but the other thing with Ireland,
I know just to sort of.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know they've mentioned now, definitely on the podcast, they've mentioned there about they have brought in Brazilians. I don't know how many of those either are still there or were playing on was it Tuesday night, whatever night it was. I don't know. It was mentioned in passing that that's what they did. They sort of brought in Brazilians that weren't going to make it in Brazil. They brought them in and sort of acclimatized them to Qatar and all the rest of it. So I don't know how many of those you're talking about. The names, I looked at the team, absolutely nothing to me. But then there'd be those would argue that the Ireland team would mean similarly would mean there's a lot of players there. You'd have to check, details, who they are, what teams they play for, etc., etc. There's probably fans as well, and we'll have to do it for the home nation as well, effectively. But look, it is what it is. We'll not labour the point. We're going to talk about managers not doing too well, and we move on to Paul Heckingbottom. Maybe that'd be better too.
Yes. Before we, I swear there's something wrong with my thing tonight. But before we do that, obviously we'll just touch on Phillips. 3 starts for England there, so he's obviously. I'm sure me or you don't really necessarily care too much about how well he's doing for England, but sort of see it seems interesting. Like all the Leeds fans are saying he's playing really well, but like on all the like Sky Sports and different like sort of ratings and stuff, he keeps getting 6s. Like I don't know. I'm not watching England games, so I don't know. But at the end of the day, it does no harm for the profile of the club for a player at Leeds. It looks like he's going to the Euros. So
well, I listened to. I know I didn't see the second goal for England last night, but I know he took the corner, and I was surprised when I heard that because obviously most of his corners for us, as we know, never got past the first man. And that's a criticism of him by Leeds fans. So maybe a bigger stage, etc. That's going to improve. It's bound to improve his game if it needed improved at all. You're right. I'll be very surprised if he's not in the 23 squad. And it's got to be. It's good for him, good for England, good for Leeds. And it's all. He's going to become a regular fixture, I would have thought. And I think the annoyance there from other people on social media and maybe the media as well. You said the 6s and the rest. I think there is a bit of, in my opinion, there's sometimes a bit of a media bias still towards it. They've never forgiven the Reeve era. As a result, you will have journalists who automatically are anti-Leeds. It does happen. There's proof there that it does. But as I say, it's good for all concerned that need to be concerned about it. And fair play. He seems to get himself established in 3 games as well. He was the one that played, wasn't he? The one that played the 3 games, and he played it. Come off one like.
He come off with 20 minutes to go in the middle game.
Yeah. And then they picked up the fact that there was some stat when he came off about how much the other team then had dominated possession, which it's a positive in terms of it shows what he does. It's what he does week in, week out for us. It's what we're sadly missing when he's missing for whatever, if it's injury or suspension. We all know that already, and he's become like a real mainstay under Bielsa. There was talk of him, I remember, leaving long before Bielsa days and being on the scrap heap, going somewhere else. And could you imagine if he was playing for whoever it may be in the Premiership or Premier League now? Sorry, and Leeds fans would be fuming. There's no 2 ways. Like if a silly offer come in and he's a bit like some of the other players that we've discussed previously on other pods, who would begrudge him? We'd be annoyed. Yes, probably more with the other club and fans than we would be with him. He owes us nothing. He owes us absolutely nothing. He's been first class, very professional. And if somebody offered, like Leicester did, got 80 million quid, if we were offered 80 million pounds, do you think we really would turn it down? I don't think we would. Although I don't think those fees now are going to be there anymore because of coronavirus. I think the fees will have to be reflective of what's going on, but still in relative terms, if we were offered big money, I wouldn't be surprised if it was entertained. But I don't want to I don't want to start a whole doom and gloom this evening. Far from it. I'm being realistic. I think a lot of Leeds, he would never leave. He was supposed to go to Villa. That time he's admitted that himself. And I'd say if a Champions League, whoever they are next season, come in, would you really think that the club, he'd have to consider it, as with the club, being realistic, but that's for next season.
I think,
and if he has a very good Euros, that's another consideration. I would never, as you say, we're slightly on the periphery here when it comes to England and England doing well. However, you'd want Leeds players to do well, to shine, look good, help the club, help the profile. And again, if he plays well, that could be interesting to see what happens. As with other players that we have currently that may shine as well there, others maybe are under the radar slightly.
I think you're maybe overdoing it. We want them to do well, like I don't want him to be the guy that misses the penalty that ends up getting England knocked out. But
no. You maybe picked up wrong. I said we want the Leeds players to do well. That's all. I didn't say anybody else.
just a wee joke. But I think before we move on as well, it's just to touch on your wee point about him being sold, about him big offers coming in for him. I think ultimately the way it would be for me is my expectation where I think we've got two players who I could see big money coming in for, and that's Rafinha and that's Calvin Phillips. To me, should a big offer come in for Rafinha this summer, I think Rafinha would be more inclined to go.
Yes.
Just because he doesn't have the ties to the club. I think Phillips would probably want to stay another year to see, where the club goes. If we go into next year, say we finish 11th or wherever about this year, and we finish lower next year, I think at that stage, then it goes with your wishes. But I think ultimately it's up to Leeds to basically show that we have his ambition. It's like, right, he wants to play in the Champions League or he wants to play in Europe. So do we. So why not do it with us? But it is like, at the end of the day, the second season is always hard. It's always a hard thing.
Of course it is.
So we'll see, what we do, and hopefully we continue our push forward.
Well, the transfer market coming up will prove they've said there's going to be potentially 5 new players coming in and probably 5 outgoings. How much you believe, like this whole thing about DePaul, how much you believe if we sign him, it's a fantastic signing, to the point that you would be annoyed if he doesn't sign. But again, he's been linked with Liverpool, he's been linked with Atalanta now as well. But apparently his preference is us. And that's not your average social media. That's coming from sort of fairly good sources. They're saying that he's apparently that's where he wants to go. So maybe Bielsa factor again. Maybe that's playing in there. But sure, we'll see. We can get quite excited hopefully the next couple of weeks and months of who we sign.
Just before we finish some noise, but just before we finish the international talk, I'll go with I'll take a big risk and offer my congratulations to Alioski on a big win against Germany. I thought that I know there's a bit of controversy surrounding him, and it's all kind of media talk at the minute. But we'll not touch on. We'll not even go near that. But just I thought that was a hell of a result for them. I think he actually gave a penalty away.
He did.
But they still won the game, and I think he was involved anyway in the build up in both goals. So
again, I was following that sort of on social media, football mob app and all the rest. I wasn't really watching it, but I did see Werner's miss today. Have you seen that?
Yeah. I did see it. Yeah.
You'd be annoyed yourself if you missed that one, so I don't know how he's feeling.
I don't think I would have made the run, but I think if I had made the run, I would have finished it.
See, Gerry, I was doing you a favour there. I definitely think you would have made the run. And I think I might have made the run and had the miss. Probably, I don't know. I'm not sure. But sure.
Yeah. Anyway, before we start in Sheffield United, our good friend Ross has asked a wee question. I know it was his birthday yesterday there as well, so happy birthday to Ross for yesterday.
Birthday
Hopefully,
for yesterday. Yeah.
hopefully we get the Leeds and Rotherham double at the weekend. You know, that there's two teams. But no, so he wants to know who would you choose as your player of the season so far? Who would it be and why? So I'll let you go first. Everybody knows mine anyway.
I know. Well, yes, who you're going to say, I agree, as in, but I'll go slightly different, slightly left field. And it's another player this week that's been rumoured to maybe a big money offer coming. Our keeper, PSG, apparently are interested, and I think, despite the rickets, despite some of the decision making and some of the things, I think overall for a 20-year-old, what he's done, I think it's been fantastic. I really, really do. He's kept. Yes, we know the person is in reserve most of the time, and we know the reasons why. But that said, he's still keeping, a Champions League winner. We'll start all that again, but you know what I'm saying. He's keeping a seasoned pro, prone mistakes as well, but he's keeping a seasoned pro on the bench, sitting and swinging his legs for 30 grand a week. I suppose we could all do that, yes, but overall, I just think keepers get better as they get older. It's frightening. The man's 20 years of age, and it's no wonder already that the likes of Paris Saint-Germain are already expressing interest. Again, as a paper talk, who knows? But regardless, I think overall, I think he's just, despite the fact we talk about ice in his veins and the times you can see he gets annoyed. He gets annoyed when he concedes a goal. He gets annoyed with some of the mistakes he makes personally. You can see that, but his distribution, all the rest of it. Like, imagine he was an English goalkeeper, he would be in the 23 because they would, he would be seen to be. That's why Southgate wants to play. That's why Nick Pope probably will be second choice of Pickford. So he would be in that. I think in that 23 squad. He didn't play for the under-21s this week.
I know he was with them, but never played.
Yeah, so don't know. No, I don't. To my knowledge, I don't think it was mentioned somewhere there. I don't know why, unless there's somebody better. And if they do, we should be checking that out and seeing who that is.
Send them to
PSG. Indeed. So I'll let you do your stat on who.
No, obviously for me it would quite comfortably be Rafinha. I'm a massive fan of him. He's just, to me, it's like there's footballers, and a lot of the time you've got, like, the Premier League is full of functional footballers. It's like they've been playing in a system since they were no age, and they're all very rigid. And, like, to me, Rafinha is the sort of boy that would, obviously he can't at the minute, but like you would literally, like, if you were sitting in Elland Road or whatever stadium you're at, and Rafinha got on the ball, you always know that wee buzz, where it's like there's always, like, the volume goes up a wee bit, and it's like everybody knows, there's a chance for something to happen, and that's the sort of players I love. That's what I love in football, and I personally would definitely give it to Rafinha. There's another wee comment there from Ross. He is Rafinha, Dallas, or Ealing.
Yeah.
Dallas, yeah. Ealing, no, not for me. And it's not. It's controversial.
Ealing's one that splits opinion a wee bit. Rafinha, it's an obvious. When I say obvious choice, I don't want to sound like I'm being smart by saying, but he's an obvious choice, and for the right reasons. I think I was going to actually say, funnily enough, before Ross's latest comment, the fact that he was a luxury signing, he wasn't meant to be at Leeds, and it just happened. Remember, it was very last minute, and sometimes when you sign a player last minute, it's almost because it's a panic buy, and you think, but the fact that we got him as cheaply as we did, the fact that the manager, resigned over the fact that he was sold, the fans are up in arms, the fish and chips gate, all the rest of it. It's just, the whole thing's hilarious to me. I'd be very annoyed if it was all the way around, I'll be honest. But the fact that he was a luxury signing, and at the start it took a while to bed in the Bielsa way. But I've actually read a wee bit about him, and apparently elsewhere he's been a wee bit of he's been a bit sort of he can be quite controversial. He's sometimes sort of down tools. He's had a wee bit of a disciplinary record elsewhere, and that's not been obvious. I know it was the Janssen thing, the Janssen type. What game was it that we did? He sat down afterwards. It was one of the games at home, wasn't it? He sat at Elm Road, and sort of people were saying, "Oh dear, that looks very."
Was it the Everton game?
I think it might have been. Yes, I think it might have been the Everton game, and there was a lot of comparisons made. I've mentioned somebody's name there. I just want to get your opinion on him in a wee second. Yeah, it would surprise me because you can see he just gets annoyed when things don't go his way, and that's true of a lot of footballers. But he's very expressive. He's that, but there's there, and again, we've already said, we've mentioned today and on previous times, if somebody comes in, and tempts, then I wouldn't be surprised. I can get that sort of Phillips and feel the difference there, in that if somebody come in, offer big money, the club, him, etc., would have to think about it. Because obviously we had the Rodrigo rumours this week as well, which he had to come out and Instagram and say no. Me personally, I think there's no smoke without fire when it comes to things like that. I know things can be misinterpreted, etc., but I personally wouldn't be surprised if he left. And I'm in that camp at the moment because we haven't seen that much of him. We haven't seen what, like a lot of people saying, oh, he'd be a great miss. Would he really? Because he hasn't played that much. So therefore, I don't think he would be, depending on who you bring in to replace. But I wouldn't, I was surprised he's 30. And we paid a lot of money for a 30-year-old, or well, 29 he probably was at the time. So I don't know. Maybe he'd be away. But what about, I've mentioned Mr. Janssen there. How would you feel? There was a lot of people said take him back in a heartbeat. Would you?
No.
Okay. Well, that's to the point.
Realistically, is he better than the four guys that we have? Maybe at one stage you would have said he was better than Cooper, but like Cooper has stepped up a lot in my opinion. Like Struik's the future. I'm still not completely sold on Llorente, and I thought Cock was looking good before the break. But no, to be honest with you, like I'm one of the few where like the whole Aston Villa thing, I was with him. Like it angers me seeing teams win a corner against Leeds, never mind standing and letting them score a goal. And like to me it was like the rules are pretty simple. If it's a head injury, the referee stops it. If not, you play on. And as far as I was concerned, Leeds didn't do anything wrong. And plus Aston Villa, their fans are just real.
I still
shits too. Like
I still watch that. I've watched. It comes up periodically, whether it be on TV, social media, whatever. When I watch the whole thing, I just laugh every time when the commentator, I think it's Rob Hawthorne or something, and says, "Oh, Janssen hasn't got the memo," and he does try to take the player out, and it makes, even though when it was coming, I still laugh every single time I watch it. And I think I'm going to be different to you, and it's not to be controversial or just to be different. I personally would take him back. The people that said, and they're quite right in what they say, I'd take him back but he has to compete against the four players that you mentioned there already. So it's not a case of he just comes straight back into the team, into the squad. But I think he would be, somebody said he'd be great for corners because we've struggled. We'd struggled, obviously, even when he was there with corners. It's always been a thorn on our side for years and years and years, but we were definitely better, I think, at clearing corners when he was there. He did pop up with the odd goal himself. So from that point of view, but as you say, would he get into the team? Not so sure. Like he says he's still on good terms with Rafinha and etc. Apparently he left under a bit of a cloud, so I don't know, but I can't see it happening. I'm just saying just giving an opinion. I would probably take him back, but I know again about the Galioski thing, it would split opinion quite a bit, if he did. If it was even mentioned that he was coming back, I'm sure it'd be interesting to see the whole meltdown that Leeds fans seem to do more than else. I don't know,
Well, there's always a meltdown. No matter what's happening, there's always a breakdown. So it turns out that there's a match on this Saturday. So we'll have a wee touch on it. So I would like to think we're confident. I seen I seen Bielsa's. I didn't see it, but I had a wee quick read over it, and it sounds like the only sort of player that might not be available is Click, which obviously he had the positive, negative, positive. Did he have COVID? I don't know whether it's a bit like I don't know, there's like songs and stuff, but it's didn't they? But yeah. So what's your thinking? Like, is there going to be many changes? Will Bielsa be loyal to what he has? Who might Click was kind of out of the team before the break anyway, so it shouldn't really make a massive difference. What's your thinking for the game?
I think I think a couple of things you've mentioned there. In theory, should win it comfortably. In practice, we probably won't. I don't mean we'll lose. I mean more we'll probably make life difficult for ourselves, knowing us, because we just don't do win games easily, do we? Particularly against teams that are struggling, teams that it tends to be our way. We don't seem to sort of. They could surprise me, and on Saturday they could be, it could be a fantastic performance, and all that, and who am I sort of thing afterwards. But I think you're going to get, it's going to be this, I talk about meltdowns. So if we lose, there'll be a meltdown. If we win 1-0, there'll be a meltdown. If we win 5, well, we're sure we're going to win 5 anyway. Sort of thing. So it doesn't really matter what happens on Saturday, win, lose, or draw. People are going to be annoyed anyway. So I suppose there'll be some people will be pleased. It's for the last manager before Bielsa. Again, talking about people leaving under a cloud. Obviously, he did. So there'll be that, the one-upmanship against him. But in terms of the team, notice Russ's comments there. I would say you might see a wee bit of a change, maybe 1 or 2. Interesting to see with the Alioski thing. Whether or not he plays again for us. I suppose that's going to gather legs as the weeks go on. And you don't have any fans to boo him, but at the same time, is it good for him mentally? If he is going to go and he is going to go to where he says where it's rumored he's going to go to, would it make sense now to people talking about Leif Davis again, or Dallas, whatever? Maybe it makes sense to maybe just have him on the bench maximum for me. But again, I don't know. Did you again? How much? I suppose I should really check the date that I'm taking these things. Because I know today was a special day for lies and rumors. Somewhere, I don't think it was today now. Gelhardt apparently not happy, thinking he should be in the first team. Rumors, somebody then said, "Oh, who told you that?" One of those ones, and it was with no reply on it. But again, is there any? I'm surprised he hasn't had a kick of the ball yet. I would have thought in some of the games that we're doing okay, he could have come on, or even the games we're not doing okay, bring him on, see what he can do. If he changes the game, why not? So I'd like to see him getting a wee, not saying he will on Saturday, but I'd like to see him getting a bit of a run out potentially off the bench. Bamford, did he not have a bit of a knock before the international break? So I know he's obviously in play, however. Guy's probably due a rest of some description, but again, it'll probably not be on Saturday. It'll be interesting. Llorente was taken off against Georgia at halftime, I think it was. So again, I don't think it was an injury. I think it was tactical. So he may well, he maybe again, maybe some of the players that have played over the international break might need a rest. Who knows? But it's not Bielsa's style. He'll continue to pick the players whether they're running the ground or not. But we'll wait and see, just to say. I don't think it'll be massive changes. Maybe I'll go two different phases. And obviously we got Mr. Roberts as well after his been on the naughty step with Wales. And again, it'll be interesting to see how Bielsa reacts to that. He's a disciplinarian, Bielsa, and I would say if that had been at Leeds, if he'd done it for Leeds, I'm not so sure you would have seen him playing for us for a while. So therefore, if he can explain himself and just say it was simply a case of, which allegedly it is, a curfew being broken, but all within hotel confines in somebody's room. I don't think it was anything, because as somebody's quite rightly said, if it had been a who was it? Foden and Greenwood, was it, for England?
Whenever they were in Iceland,
type of
the girls round or something, didn't they?
scenario where the Snapchat is involved, then that would have been picked up on by the media. So the media would have picked up on that. So it sounds like it's innocent enough, but at the same time, obviously rules are rules. So again, I don't know. Roberts maybe it'd be Elsa's way of maybe dropping him down as well. If he wanted to, sort of thing. But we'll see.
I think from what I've seen of Bielsa's interview today, he was kind of he seemed to be almost kind of playing the Roberts thing down a wee bit. It was kind of like almost it was like it happened with Wales and Wales have dealt with it. It's kind of not my problem. It's kind of I think Roberts will start
Right.
at the weekend. I think sort of from what I've seen, Pablo and Rodrigo are fit, but maybe not 100% match fit from what he kind of said. So I think if there's maybe a wee under-23s game, we might see them off the bench or and then possibly get a start or a 45-minute job in an under 23s. But we'll see. But I think the most interesting thing for us this weekend is who plays centre back. Like you kind of have four guys there who could all kind of make a claim.
You're dropping in and out, Gerry. I'm not picking up so much.
No, you're not getting me, no. No, I was just saying about who plays centre back at the weekend. You get me? No, you hear me? No.
Uh-huh.
No. Can you hear me now? No.
You just said there about now. What about the under 23s?
I was just saying that
you said somebody didn't catch the name.
Rodrigo and Pablo, I think, might appear for them. Well, actually, Ross has just said the next game's is the 16th of April. So,
all right, okay,
it might be. Then Ross is also asking about if Bamford's injured, so maybe Gelhardt, maybe Roberts would play up front. But I think we're short of bodies in midfield then. If we play Roberts up front.
Yeah.
And then I think the
potential.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. We'll come back to what you were saying. I'll go about the potential.
I know. I think there's the potential then that if basically, I think if Click's not fit, I think Phillips will start in midfield, and I think Roberts will start in midfield. And then I think the next kind of scenario is obviously you could have Rodrigo, Hernandez there, but I think they are all maybe just not 100%. So I think Dallas will start in midfield, and then to go back on what you said earlier, I think Alioski will start at left back, which I know is obviously there's controversy there as well at the minute. But I'm reading as well about what Ross says about Bamford. Admitted he was struggling after the session yesterday, so maybe Gelhardt. I don't know.
Well, as a wee Joffy, why not? At the end of the day, if it doesn't really matter, then we're in that luxurious now. To me, that you're playing for position in the league as opposed to anything else. It's how high you can finish now is really what we're aiming to do. At the start, it was let's stay up. Let's be realistic. That's what we all wanted. We're there now, in my opinion. Pretty much. I suppose there's still somebody said if we beat Sheffield United on Saturday, they can't catch us. I think somebody had written that on social media. So that's based on them winning every game and after hours. But it's still there. They could, realistically, if we're going to be completely mad about football and what can happen. But to me, it's a bit of a free hit in terms of if Bamford is struggling a bit, is maybe bring in Gelhardt and say, look, let's see what you can do, and then have Greenwood and maybe one or two others on the bench. Then promote a few of those, the under 23s, particularly as Ross said there. They're not playing again until the 16th of April. Keep a wee bit of sharpness there. That league's pretty much done and dusted as well. So, we could just keep the flow going. But you were mentioning there, just as you were starting to go the last time, about the centre backs. Is what you were saying? Who do you think? I know Cooper's back in the frame. I think potentially, Struijk and Koch might play. is now I'm not saying that's my ideal too or what I want. It's what I think might happen. I'm basing that on the fact that Cooper's still coming back from alleged coronavirus. Llorente's played plus was taken off on the last match, and then Cock needs match fitness, particularly if he's going to try and get in the German squad. So Bielsa will think of the bigger picture. He obviously didn't play for Germany last night. He wasn't in the squad at all.
No.
Last night against Macedonia. So again, he'll be fresh. Whether or not you throw him straight in the deep end, I don't know. But that's who I think might play. Well, I could be completely wrong. It'll probably be Cooper and Llorente based on that. But potentially Cock and Struik might play, but I'm not sure.
There's another wee comment from Gerry saying about if Phillips plays further in midfield like he did for England, could Cock play at centre defensive midfielder like he did in the last 223 games? So I know he did play a bit in midfield, and apparently he's the sort of preferred cover for Phillips when he gets injured. But
yeah.
we'll see how that works out anyway. But just before we finish, then we'll get predictions. We'll put our necks in the line here and say what's a scoreline. So I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go for 3-1, but Sheffield United to score first. That's what I'm going for.
Can you imagine the meltdowns?
I think genuinely, I think we'll win, but I think there'll be a bit of a bump in the road first.
Yeah.
I didn't watch any. I watched very much of it. Sorry, the Chelsea game in the FA Cup, and they did give them a bit of a run for their money. From what I heard in the commentary, they obviously were awful against Leicester. So he's had a wee bit of time to sort of with the players that are there. Although, again, what he said today, they're struggling for numbers. Basham's out, Billy Sharp's out. John Egan, and what's the guy who I'd like us to sign? Can never pronounce his name right.
Is he the Scandinavian? Is it?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
The guy I'm talking about. Yeah, he's out as well. So they're struggling a bit for numbers, but sometimes that's an opportunity. For somebody else, and as somebody said, incoming Ryan Brewster hat-trick, because he's not set the world alight. So I don't know, Gerry. That's what I'm predicting anyway, and we'll see how accurate I am come 20 to 5 o'clock on. Oh, Russ wants to relive 1990? Was that result?
4-0.
Yeah, it was.
I doubt you'll Ross remember that.
No, don't think either of you. Well, definitely, both of you be struggling to remember. That was the one that played the last time we played Sheffield United around about this date, Easter time. At Ellen Road, it was 4-0. Simon Tracy was nets for Sheffield United and had an absolute disaster of a game.
I remember him.
Remember him? Gary Speed scored the fourth goal. And I was talking, funnily enough, it was LUFC Stats who had on there a couple of weeks ago. He mentioned the game and the health programme and the rest of it. And I went back to him and said the commentary. There was a guy doing it from Yorkshire, and it was so biased. It was one of those like I follow type, and he just says, "Go on, Gary, get one yourself, son." And he goes, and he has. He's off the first stick. It's just so biased. He's like. I could probably pick up on YouTube. It's honest, it's so funny. But here, that's coming from Russ. I suppose it's not massively different from what I've said, but it's a strong result now. 4-0. We'll wait and see. What about you, Gerry?
I'm going to say 2-0, and I think it'll be 0-0 at half time. I can see it a tight 45 minutes, and then just kind of going ahead. But Ross is getting cheeky here in the comments.
Here, that's not cheeky if it's fact. It's true. I wish I could say the same, but I can't.
I sort of remember my very first memories of Leeds was the 1990-1991 season. Whenever I only remember, my only memories of it are on a Saturday, my dad used to go down to the bookies in Larne, and while I was sitting waiting, the things used to have like a league table on the back of them, and every week I always went in and looked to see if Leeds were above Man United. And I think Leeds finished fourth that season, and United were sixth.
That's right.
And I think something tells me Crystal Palace were third. But
yeah, I've been listening to. If you haven't, there's a really good. I don't know if you listen to. If you get time, Gerry, probably not. Knowing you, but everything else you're doing. But the Square Ball podcast are doing a 30-year, and they're doing it every week. They do the same. Yeah, so I'm yes, I can confirm all that you're saying there. Palace were was Liverpool, Arsenal were 1 and 2. I don't know. I don't know how that finished. It was Liverpool finished then in 1990. Top of league.
I think Arsenal won it because Liverpool's last title was 1990.
Was that not the Liverpool won the league at Chelsea? Dalglish scored? No.
No, 91. I'm 90% sure Arsenal won it. I'll just double check it here.
Okay.
I think whenever they won the title there, it was 30 years.
And it was 89-90, was it, for Liverpool? And then Arsenal won it, and then Leeds won it the following season.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
What one was the Michael Thomas year? Was that before then? Was that like?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was 88, 89 or something. Was Michael Thomas?
There's
up for grabs now, as Brian Moore would say. Michael Thomas is up for grabs now.
Arsenal, Liverpool, Palace, Leeds, Man City, Man United.
Yeah,
the top 6 that year, and then Wimbledon in 7th. So.
Oh no, there you go. Palace third. There's a shock. It's really good. They follow, as I say, every week. They do the podcast that reflects the 30 years ago. It's really good. If you get a chance to even catch it now, going forward, it's very, very, very good.
What I say is, it would be good for me now because it kind of would be coming to a time where I can start to remember it.
Yeah.
Because I've actually been reading a book lately there about a guy, and he's a Leeds fan, and he's a wee bit younger than me. I can't even remember the guy's name now. My phone's out of my reach. It's on the wee Kindle, but he's just a wee bit younger, and he's kind of talking about the wee memories and stuff. So it's interesting listening to that. So it is something that sounds like something I'd be interested in. But it's the podcast.
Yeah, chance. Very, very good, very good, and they're very funny. The fellas that do it are extremely funny. Like they're polished. They won an award there. They're recently. They're very. I listen to both. I set up that I listen to both every week. They're actually, when they're talking about the games are happening now and 30 years ago, and some of the things they come out with are libelous, to say the least. But it's very, very funny. Very, very good at what they do. I have to say, not as good as us, Gerry, but they're very good.
I will. That's for. So it is, but no. I think we'll wrap it up here. Then we've all says me and you both says Leeds are going to beat Sheffield United, and Ross is he's all for a hammer in there for you. So hopefully Ross is right. And
you're showing Saturday then. Have you been given the green light by the good lady?
I haven't even had the guts to mention it yet. But no, I think most likely, if as far as I know, I think Brian's coming on. So they should be lively. It's kind of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so you'll probably not be full yet. So.
I was going to say afternoon drinking for Brian on a Saturday might be a dodgy place, but anyway, we'll see how we go. Well, enjoy your next couple of days, Gerry, and hopefully hoping for a good result on Saturday.
Yes. Thanks very much for coming on, JK, and no doubt we'll be back again. All right, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
Okay. See you on. Bye bye.